Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield look amazing. Pokemon fans finally have something to be excited about for the first time in years, seemingly because Game Freak is listening. It does really look like Game Freak took in a lot of the criticism about the past Pokemon games and want to make the definitive best Pokemon experience so far. But we have a problem with that, because there's currently nothing supporting Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Let me explain. Let's go and look back at the last couple years of Pokemon game releases. We have 2014, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, fine games, but then nothing in 2015. 2016 was a year full of hope and hype that was quickly drenched by the release of the Pokemon games, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. People soured on those games, and they barely lasted into January when it came to people actively engaging and enjoying them. 2017 was a lot worse. That when people realized Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was what Pokemon Sun and Moon should have been, and was effectively $40, $10 DLC, people were not pleased with Game Freak at all. And then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu came out, and it was even worse. So what I'm saying is, there's really no activity, there's no hype, there's nothing that's making people excited for Pokemon currently, except for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And what that means is, there really isn't going to be any culture around it. That people, they're going to see maybe some news, and just wait for the games to come out, play with them, get bored, and then go to the next trend of the month or something. So I think that's the big problem, because when it came to past Pokemon successes, there were 90s kids. And I don't think there are any 90s kids left that want to get back into Pokemon that haven't experienced Pokemon recently. I look back at Pokemon X and Y very fondly these days as the great renaissance of Pokemon. That pretty much all of my friends, they wanted to play Generation 6. They were desperate to get back into Pokemon because they hated the 5th generation. Generation 4 lasted a little too long as well, because when you think about it, Diamond and Pearl, they came out in 2007, so you play those games for a year, even 2 years, that means you have 45 years without a Pokemon experience, and Pokemon X and Y reimagined their childhood, reimagined all of our childhoods in 3D, so it was pretty awesome. Also, it was like the first time I saw a major sense of community. People didn't want to cheat. People wanted to work for their things. People wanted to understand Pokemon at the more complex levels that have been introduced over the years. And it's also one of the things that really feels why my channel is a success. That people wanted to learn. People wanted to engage with Pokemon. And it was really beautiful. So it wasn't just something localized to my friend group. It was kind of like the entire Pokemon community came together. Pokemon X and Y sold really well despite being on a new console. And I think that was kind of showing like, alright, cool, we had something happen where just Pokemon blew up, but also Pokemon Go. Like, anyone that, abstained from Pokemon X and Y, wasn't really too excited about what Pokemon Sun and Moon was showing, they got into Pokemon Go as well, and that was, again, a great experience that brought Pokemon fans together and at least kept interest around. That if someone hasn't engaged with Pokemon since Generation 1, Generation 2, maybe loosely through like Generations 3 through 5 or 6 or something, they wanted to learn something about Pokemon. Pokemon Trivia was incredibly successful during the Pokemon Go era. People just wanted to get back into Pokemon hype. Pokemon took over the world for the second time. I think it was pretty awesome, but now when it comes to Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's really no one left, Everyone's either burned by Pokemon Sun and Moon, tired of all the recent Pokemon games, kind of fallen back out of the fandom, so they're more looking at it cautiously in some kind of purgatory than actually super excited like the build-up into Pokemon X and Y, like the build-up into Pokemon Go, like the build-up into Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think that's our biggest problem. And I don't think Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to have the same magic that we saw with like the announcement of Pokemon Sun and Moon, because what people wanted was just a constant stream of anything Pokemon related. Official news, fake news, clickbait. Unfortunately, I feel like all that ended up burning people out, and now they're less receptive to anything Pokemon related, even if it is official, because of all the greed and desperation that tainted the Pokemon community throughout the 7th generation. But I mean, we just don't see people wanting everything, trivia, news, general gaming information, because they either already got it or they're burned out on it. And I feel that is another problem with Pokemon. So how do we make things better? Honestly, I don't even know. Leave a like on the video, support this video, comment your thoughts down below, and I say this often, but really, we need everyone to get back into Pokemon, so please, share this video with all of your friends, everyone you know that has even had a passing interest in Pokemon. Get this video out there to them, Twitter, Discord, stuff like that, because I want to know what they think. I'm kind of in my own more hardcore Pokemon fan bubble, so I don't really know what the thoughts are for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I honestly feel like people are going to enjoy the news the day it comes out, not care about the next day, and then wait a month for the next news release, and then that's going to be it for the next 7 months until the game ends up coming out. And then they're going to care about Pokemon, but we need it to where they're always interested in Pokemon. But that still, I feel, isn't going to work out too well, because let's say you're hyped for Pokemon. You're ready, your friends are ready, you want to get back into Pokemon. How do you do it? Because it doesn't even seem like the Pokemon company knows how to get people back into Pokemon right now, since there's a split. What do? Do you pick up Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, or do you pick up Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee? Do you get the most recent Pokemon games and start learning the Nintendo Switch, or do you go back to the outdated games that people didn't even like on release? But the problem about Pokemon Ultra Sun Ultra Moon is that's where the competitive is. And my philosophy on Pokemon is the ultimate in-game of Pokemon. The reason why you play Pokemon is to backhand your friends when you get better at them than the game with these magical creatures with insane powers. That you are supposed to become a Pokemon master. So the end game, what everything that Pokemon leads up to, is awesome fan art, cute expressions of the game, and then just becoming a Pokemon master. Now, a lot of people disagree with me. They'd rather just, they put more value on the story. They put more value on the post-game, the Battle Frontier, the little games and stuff that have been absent from Pokemon recently, but I feel it's the other way around, I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. You're supposed to become a Pokemon master, and you do that by learning the game and getting good. And I feel like that you can learn more about the modern Pokemon competitive and environment from Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and if you commit to that, you're going to be met with disappointment, because all it is a giant hack fest. Every top player cheats. And that's made even worse by the format of hacked legendary Pokemon that are going to be perfect. So, if you spend the time to actually understand the game, play legitimately, play fair, because, surprise, not every Pokemon fan wants to cheat. You are not a Pokemon fan if you cheat the game. So, real Pokemon fans out there, they don't want to cheat, even though it will put them at the level they need to be. So they're going to invest all this time, and they're going to get burned by the games, by the community, and then just not want to play Pokemon at all. Now, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, on the other hand, I feel is the opposite. Pokemon Let's Go is the best competitive Pokemon experience that we have right now. It is the most balanced. It is far more balanced than Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It is far easier to get into for competitive. I feel in about 25 hours, you can go from buying the game to having your first competitive Pokemon battles, which is the least barrier to entry that we've seen in any Pokemon game, yet people hate it. And that kind of blows my mind, because 25 hours sounds like a lot, but I mean, I already have friends that have put hundreds of hours into Apex, and they'll play 5 hours a day. So a week of playing Apex, they could already be ready for competitive Pokemon, but that's the problem with today's society. It's all about entitlement, instant gratification, people just being spoiled, and that's why hacking has ruined all the other Pokemon games. And even then, people are cautious about getting Generation 8 until they can confirm that there isn't going to be hacking immediately on release. I'm thinking also about other games, League of Legends. You're going to spend your first couple of dozens of hours against bots learning what champions do. PUBG. I think I got 5 damage on my first game ever. Didn't fire a shot for the next 4 games. Finally killed someone around game 10. And then a few hours in, I got carried by my team to pick up a win. And I think I was dead from minute 5 or something. And then they 3v4'd and won. So, that's kind of it. You need... people just don't want to put in that time anymore. People always want action, and I think that's what's hurting Pokemon, even though the barrier to entry is so low. Also, when you think about it, if you haven't played Pokemon since XY, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, the early days of Pokemon Sun and Moon, we're talking 2.5 to 5 years without Pokemon experience. Going back to the original 151 is not marks against Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It's points for the game, because you get in, it's more balanced, and you already understand what's going on. And I really feel Pokemon Let's Go is like Pokemon Stadium. I can't even figure out the hundreds of hours I've spent playing Pokemon Stadium with friends with these garbage rental Pokemon. But that's it. That's because it's fun. That's what Pokemon is about. And Pokemon Let's Go feels a lot like that. You pick up a Pokemon, you slap another Pokemon with it, and then somebody wins. The games are a lot simpler and a lot more fun because of it. They don't have to worry about egg moves. You don't have to worry about EVs. You don't have to worry about all this crazy stuff. You pick up the Pokemon you want to use. Almost every Pokemon is good in these games, and then you're going to have a fighting chance to not get one-shot by everything, and sweeps are incredibly rare because a lot of the overpowered moves have been removed from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So I feel this is the game everyone should be playing right now. It's not too late to get in Pokemon Let's Go because of how quick you can get into it and just start battling people, but for some reason, the mob mentality, the tribalism, just the unnecessary hate has killed the best Pokemon experience that we currently have available. I put Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee as my second best Pokemon games, right behind Heart Gold and Soul Silver, because you play it naturally, you end up with good, classic, lovable Pokemon. They're strong enough to not make you feel bad about the games, then you go and win. Just get straight into it. But whatever. As for other things that are going on, you know, it's like Pokemon Go going into Pokemon Sun and Moon was really interesting because, like I said, a lot of people wanted to get into it. I remember seeing videos on Twitter of, like, people in Central Park, like thousands of people flooding the streets of New York at night, emptying from their apartments because of a Porygon spawned in Central Park. An evolved Pokemon spawns, and you get hundreds of people at a location all caring about Pokemon. I think the same thing kind of happened in Japan, like one of the first community days. A Lapras spawned by the beach, and like 500,000 people tried to swamp for this Lapras or something. But unfortunately, Pokemon Go was killed by Niantic. The servers were junk. They had to make their Pokemon game broken to fix it from all the spoofing. Trading took years to come out. Battling took years to come out. Legendaries didn't come out. You know, everything that was promised within months ended up taking way too long to happen. They transitioned to Pokemon Sun and Moon, and they're met with a hand-holdy cutscene fest that, while it felt like Pokemon, it felt too young, even though the other Pokemon games didn't feel as childish, and that's kind of a big problem. So, I see a lot of optimism for Pokemon Sword and Shield. My fear is that people aren't going to get involved with it, you know? There could be some massive news drop. Like, I think that's the main thing that we can hope for. Some kind of incredible news drop, answers all the questions, and gets everyone to care about Pokemon. But if it's just kind of like all the other reveals, I still see Pokemon Sword and Shield having 15 million, 20 million Switch sales, being the largest Pokemon game ever, but it's only going to happen after launch. And that means we're going to have a very long and boring 7 to 8 months till the games come out. I feel everyone should start caring about Pokemon Sword and Shield now. Pokemon hype should begin like we saw with the build-up in Sun and Moon, the build-up into Pokemon X and Y. But I don't know if the culture's there to support it. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.